The tires crunched softly over the gravel driveway as Sarah Whitmore slowed to a stop outside the lake house. Her hands stayed on the steering wheel a moment longer than they needed to. She was staring at something that shouldn't be there. A car, not Daniel's, not hers. A sleek, blood-red coupe with tinted windows. Freshly washed, freshly parked. Its engine still warm, ticking faintly in the cool evening air. It was Thursday night, 24 hours before their planned family weekend. Daniel had insisted on leaving a day early to prep the place, claiming the plumbing was acting up and the fridge was dead again. He had sounded tired on the phone, distracted. He always sounded like that lately. Sarah wasn't supposed to be here. She'd told him she'd drive up with the kids Friday afternoon after picking them up from her sister's. But something in her gut had twisted after his last message. Dry, delayed, almost rehearsed. So she packed early, no text, no warning. She figured she'd surprise him with takeout and a six-pack from his favorite brewery. Only now takeout sat lukewarm in the passenger seat, and the lake house, their shared sanctuary for nearly a decade, glowed dimly from the inside, like a secret it couldn't contain. Her breath caught as she stepped out of the car, careful not to slam the door. The porch light flickered. The kind of flicker she used to joke meant, someone's having sex inside. The thought scraped through her mind like broken glass. She moved slowly, as if faster steps might crack her open. A few steps onto the deck and she heard it. Laughter, high-pitched, feminine, not hers. Not anyone's she recognized. The front door was locked. Of course it was. But the side window. Daniel always forgot to close the side window fully. Her heart pounded in her chest like a trapped animal as she stepped off the porch and slipped around the side, feet silent against the earth. She crouched under the window. Wine glasses clinked inside. "You look even better in this than she does," a voice said. Playful, young. Sarah didn't need to look, but she did. The curtain had shifted just enough. Her eyes adjusted to the bedroom light, casting shadows across the room. Two bodies, one male, one female. Close, intimate. The woman, blonde, maybe mid-20s, was wearing her robe. The silk one Daniel had gifted Sarah last anniversary. Her name embroidered on the cuff. The girl laughed again, pushing Daniel back onto the bed. Their bed, the bed where their daughter was conceived. The one Sarah had folded laundry on just last month. The takeout bag slipped from her fingers and fell with a dull thud onto the grass. Sarah stumbled back, choking on something between a cry and a scream. Her knees hit dirt. She gripped the side of the house to keep from collapsing completely. Her mind raced. Do I knock? Do I storm in? Do I scream loud enough for them to know they're seen? But she did none of that. Instead, she reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. Hands trembling, she lifted it to the window and took the photo. Then another, and another. She zoomed in on the girl's face, captured the wine glasses, the robe, the suitcase at the foot of the bed. The intimacy of betrayal, framed in high definition. Sarah backed away like the house was on fire, heart pounding in her ears. She got in her car, locked the doors, and sat there in the dark. Daniel still hadn't responded to her last text. Need anything from town? She hadn't seen the three dots. No typing, no answer. She opened her camera roll, clicked through the images again. Her fingers hovered over the send button, addressed to her best friend Leah. But she didn't send them. Not yet. Instead, she stared at the reflection of her face in the black mirror of the windshield. This was supposed to be the start of a family weekend. Matching sweaters, s'mores, firewood, board games with the kids. Now, it was the weekend she found out her marriage was a lie. And the worst part? It hadn't even started yet. Sarah didn't sleep. She sat in the driver's seat of her SUV the entire night, parked down the winding hill from the lake house, headlights off, keys in her lap. Her phone buzzed twice, her sister sending a photo of the kids brushing their teeth and a goodnight message. But she didn't open it. She couldn't. Her hands were frozen, not from the cold but from what she'd seen. Her robe, her bed, her husband's hands on someone else. The girl couldn't have been older than 25. Long blonde hair, tan legs, One of those bodies that didn't look like it had ever carried the weight of a mortgage or a marriage. Sarah had caught a glimpse of a small tattoo on her wrist. A butterfly. Of course it's a damn butterfly. The absurdity of it all hit her around 3:12 a.m. when she realized the champagne glasses on the nightstand weren't even the ones she used. Daniel had gone out of his way to get something special. For her. Not his wife of 10 years, not the mother of his 2 children, for the girl with a butterfly on her wrist and Sarah's robe on her back. She wanted to scream, throw rocks through the lake house windows, light the porch furniture on fire. But instead, she called the one person who'd know exactly what to do. Leah answered on the second ring. Sarah, it's 3 in the morning. Her voice cracked. He's not alone. Leah didn't ask for clarification. She didn't need to. Where are you? Down the road. I saw everything, Leah. She's wearing my robe. My robe. The last 2 words came out like a sob strangled into a whisper. Okay, Leah said calmly. First thing, do not confront them. What? Are you insane? No, I'm thinking clearly. You're not. Listen to me. You want to blow up right now, I get that. But if you do, you give him power. He'll spin it, gaslight you, say it wasn't what it looked like, make you the crazy one. You walk in there screaming and crying, and you become the irrational wife. I am the wife. Exactly. Which means you play this smart. Document everything. Keep your head. Take photos, record timestamps, keep texts. You're building a case now, not just against his heart, but against his wallet too. Sarah didn't say anything for a moment. Her breathing steadied. Her hands began to move, pulling up the photos, organizing them into an album titled The Betrayal. Are you with the kids? No, they're with my sister. He thought I was coming up tomorrow. Thank God. Then go somewhere safe. Get sleep. You're going to need it. I'm not leaving. I need to see everything. I want to know how far this goes. Silence. Then keep the engine off and stay hidden. And don't text him. Sarah hung up and dropped the phone on the passenger seat. It buzzed again 5 minutes later. Daniel, you still good to bring the kids up tomorrow? I'll be up late tonight, fixing the water heater. The audacity of the lie sent bile up her throat. She typed a reply, deleted it. Typed again, deleted again. Finally, she sent, Yep, all good. She sat back and stared at the phone. His message was time-stamped just 5 minutes ago. He just texted her, while she was watching his mistress toss pillows onto their bed like she was decorating a hotel room. At 5:11 a.m., Sarah saw the bedroom light turn off. By 6:30, the red coupe pulled out of the driveway. The girl was driving. Daniel wasn't with her. Sarah zoomed in with her camera. License plate IL72X9. Got it. By 7:10, the sun was rising. Daniel emerged in sweatpants and a hoodie, tossing a garbage bag into the bin like he was taking out last night's dinner instead of the remains of his marriage. He stretched, yawned, picked up his phone, probably texting her. Sarah's face didn't move, but her heart clenched so hard it felt like something inside her was cracking in half. That's when she made a decision. She wasn't going to tell him she saw. Not yet. She wasn't going to let him twist the story. She was going to gather everything, every charge, every location ping, every receipt, every excuse. And when the time came to confront him, it wouldn't just be rage, it would be ruin. The ride back from the lake house to their main home was silent, eerily so. No radio, no podcasts, just the low hum of tires on asphalt and the occasional creak of a gear shift. Sarah's eyes didn't blink often. Her brain replayed the images like a loop surveillance feed. The red car, the robe, the laughter, the lie. She pulled into the driveway like any other wife returning home after errands. The neighbors would see nothing wrong, but Sarah was already someone else now. She stepped inside, locked the door behind her, and sat at the kitchen table like it was an interrogation room. She didn't cry. Not yet. Now was for intel. She opened her laptop and began a list. Evidence, timeline, patterns. The first place she checked was Daniel's email. She had tried logging in before, months ago, when his behavior first started shifting. When he came home from business dinners, smelling like peppery cologne, and began hiding his phone screen when texting. But the password hadn't worked then. Now she typed their daughter's name followed by her birth year. Nothing. She tried their anniversary date. Still nothing. Then she remembered something. The one thing Daniel always used when he needed to make something memorable. His high school football jersey number and the name of his first dog. She typed Blitz 42 access granted. The inbox was cleaner than it should have been. Too clean. Just work threads and utility bills. But Sarah knew Daniel wasn't smart enough to delete everything from everywhere. She went straight to the archived folder, and there they were. Hundreds of emails. Under a contact labeled Sea Lions. She opened the first one. Subject, that pic of us in the cabin mirror. Still can't believe we made it to the lake house without her finding out. This weekend felt like a dream. When's the next one? Sarah's hand went cold. She kept scrolling. Messages from months ago. Plans, excuses, flights, photos, selfies in her bathroom. One image stopped her cold. Daniel shirtless, in their bed, holding up a sign that said, "Only for you, baby." She pressed Save All Attachments. Then she opened his linked Google Maps account. He'd left location history on. Rookie mistake. She scrolled through the timeline of his last few months. Dots connected places she didn't know about. Boutique hotels in the city, a resort 2 hours away, a bar called Solstice Lounge, where he'd once claimed to have a conference call. She marked every visit, matched them to dates in her calendar. Nights he said he was at client dinners. Weekends he said he was volunteering with the team. He hadn't just been cheating. He'd been building a life outside her field of vision. And it got worse. A forwarded email from a jewelry site. A confirmation of purchase. One 14K gold bracelet with custom engraving. To see forever starts soon. She found the delivery receipt. It had gone to his office address. Her phone vibrated. A new message. Daniel. Made a list of what to bring tomorrow. Kids' jackets, chargers, allergy meds. Let me know if I missed anything. She stared at the screen. Her thumb hovered over the reply button. Let me know if I missed anything. How about the part where you were going to propose to your mistress before our kids got to the lake house? How about the fact that you were planning this on my dime, in my robe, in my home? She didn't respond. Instead, she kept digging. His credit card. Statements accessible via their shared bank account showed spa visits, Uber rides at 1:30 a.m., charges at luxury boutiques Sarah had never stepped foot in. He had spent $200 on lingerie. Not for her, not for the woman who had stretched her body through childbirth, not for the woman who did his taxes and packed his lunch, but for Sea Lions. She clicked open one last email, dated just last week. Subject. Us. This weekend is just for us. I don't care about the fallout. She's been distant anyway. Once the lake house is transferred, I'll have everything in my name. Then I'll be free. Sarah dropped her phone. That was it. This wasn't just cheating. This was strategic betrayal. He was setting up for divorce without telling her, getting her to transfer assets, isolating her emotionally while lining his pockets with ammunition. Her fingers tightened into fists. She stood from the kitchen table slowly, moved to the mirror in the hallway. She looked like herself, but she didn't feel like her. Something colder had awakened, something calculating. Sarah whispered to her reflection, like a vow. You are going to steal my house and my life. Let's see how you enjoy watching me take it all back. By Friday afternoon, Sarah had set her trap. The lake house, Daniel's castle of lies, was about to become the courtroom. And she would be judge, jury, and executioner. She didn't scream. She didn't rage. She dressed simply. Jeans, boots, a navy sweater, clean face, calm eyes, a thin stack of papers tucked neatly into her tote bag, printouts, screenshots, time-stamped photos, the digital wreckage of Daniel's affair, organized like legal ammunition. The kids were dropped off with her sister again. Change of plans, she had said. We'll pick them up in the morning. No explanation, just the kind of clipped voice that didn't invite questions. At exactly 4:07 p.m., she pulled into the driveway. Daniel was out front stacking firewood, sleeves rolled up, smiling like he was posing for a brochure titled, Model Husband Prepares for Family Weekend. He waved. You made it. You're early again. Sarah stepped out of the car, her keys jingling faintly. Yeah, thought I'd help you get things ready. Daniel leaned over to kiss her cheek. She turned away, just enough for him to notice, not enough for him to question. Not yet. Inside, the house smelled like cinnamon candles and pine cleaner. Every surface was polished. There were fresh flowers on the kitchen island. He had gone all out to make the place look warm and inviting. He poured her a glass of wine. Her favorite. She didn't touch it. I've missed you, he said, pulling out a chair at the dining table. She sat. He stayed standing, still performing. The kids excited? Yeah. Her voice was low, controlled. Daniel poured himself a drink and leaned against the counter, smiling. You okay? You seem off. Sarah tilted her head. Do I? He nodded slowly, suddenly aware of something beneath her surface, something calculating. She pulled out the stack of papers and placed them gently on the table between them. What's that? He asked. Start with the top one. He walked over, skeptical, still playing the clueless husband. The first photo stopped him cold. It was from 2 nights ago, through the bedroom window. Daniel, the girl, her robe. Daniel stared at it, not breathing. The next page, a screen grab of the email. This weekend is just for us. Then another. The custom bracelet receipt. Then another. The Google Maps timeline showing his location at the hotel on the same night he told Sarah he was meeting with the board. I can keep going, she said. Or you can start talking. He dropped into the chair across from her, suddenly pale. Sarah, this isn't... Look, it's not what it looks like. No? She asked calmly. Because it looks like you brought your mistress to our lake house. It looks like you used our shared bank account to buy her lingerie. And it really looks like you were planning to put the deed in your name and walk out the door. His lips parted, but no sound came. She leaned forward, voice ice cold. You were going to propose to her, weren't you? Silence. You were going to take this house, our house, and start a new life with her, while I brought your children here for s'mores and bedtime stories. Daniel tried to speak, but the words stumbled. Sarah, I was confused. You've been distant. We haven't been the same. Don't, she cut him off. Don't you dare make this about me. He stood up, starting to pace. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. You planned it for months. You made sure I'd be gone. You lied to our children, to your mother, to everyone. He turned on her suddenly. You don't understand what it's like to feel ignored. You're always so busy, cold. There it was, the gaslighting. She didn't flinch. You could have told me. You could have left. But instead, you chose the coward's route. You chose betrayal. Daniel's voice cracked. I made a mistake. She leaned back. You made a series of choices. He slumped into the chair, defeated, cornered. Sarah stood and collected the papers. You're going to come to the lake house this weekend. You're going to smile. You're going to laugh with your kids and toast your mother. And when it's over, you're going to leave. Quietly, without drama. Daniel blinked at her. And then? And then you'll hear from my lawyer. His head dropped into his hands. Sarah walked toward the door, then paused. One more thing. He looked up. Did you propose in our bed or hers? She didn't wait for the answer. She closed the door behind her, the click sounding, louder than any scream. The Whitmore family had no idea they were walking into a minefield. By Saturday morning, the lake house looked exactly as it always did. Fresh firewood stacked by the porch, the smell of cinnamon rolls wafting from the kitchen, laughter echoing as the kids ran through the living room in socks. But Sarah was no longer the woman hosting a peaceful family weekend. She was the woman silently watching a man perform. Daniel was in full charm mode, grilling breakfast sausages, complimenting his mother's hair, tossing the football with his son like it was a Norman Rockwell painting. His laugh was too loud. His jokes were a little too eager. Feels good to get everyone together again, huh? He said, nudging Sarah with his elbow. She smiled thinly. Feels like something, that's for sure. Her mother-in-law, Carol, beamed from the deck with a mug of coffee. You two always throw the best weekends. Sarah didn't respond. Her eyes tracked Daniel like a predator studying its prey. By mid-afternoon, the house was full. Daniel's sister, her husband, their two teenagers, even Carol's elderly friend Agnes, who'd been invited for board games and lakeside stories. Every inch of the house buzzed with warmth and noise, but Sarah never let her guard drop. She kept receipts in her pocket, emails on her phone, a printed timeline tucked inside her overnight bag, in case things turned. Daniel's phone rarely left his hand. She noticed how often he checked it, always turning away, texting low and fast. And every time it buzzed, he flinched. Good. Let him squirm. Because what he didn't know was that Sarah hadn't blocked the mistress's number from their shared phone plan. She was tracking the texts. Every one of them. And at 2:43 p.m., it came. Sea lions. I'm on my way. Can't wait to surprise you again like last time. Sarah's blood ran cold, not from shock, but from anticipation. The girl was coming. Here. To the lake house. Now. Daniel hadn't told her, hadn't warned her. He must have assumed Sarah would be too distracted, too busy with the kids, too naive to notice. But Sarah had planned for this moment. She didn't panic. She poured herself a glass of lemonade, walked out to the porch, sat beside Carol, who was knitting and humming. At exactly 3:09 p.m., a red coupe pulled into the gravel driveway, the same one Sarah had seen 3 nights earlier. The moment froze like a photo. Daniel stood in the backyard holding a football mid-throw. Sarah sat perfectly still, sipping her lemonade. The rest of the family was scattered, on the dock, in the kitchen, playing board games in the den. But everyone turned when they heard the unfamiliar car engine. The girl stepped out, blonde hair in a messy bun, white sundress, sunglasses. She looked around with a smile and carried a bottle of champagne like she was arriving at a date. Then she saw Sarah. She paused, confused. Then her eyes darted past Sarah, searching for Daniel. Carol looked up from her knitting. "Oh, who's this?" Sarah stood slowly, walked to the edge of the porch. Calm, controlled. The girl's voice trembled. I think I might have the wrong... Cassandra, right?" Sarah said, loud enough for everyone to hear. The girl froze. Daniel came around the corner, face going white. Everyone turned to him. Sarah took one more step toward Cassandra, her voice like glass. "You brought champagne. That was thoughtful. Shame you didn't check the guest list." Carol's knitting dropped into her lap. "Daniel, what is she talking about?" Cassandra stepped back. "He said he'd be here alone. That you weren't..." Daniel cut in. "She doesn't know what she's saying. She's confused." "She's not," Sarah said, pulling the envelope from her bag. "This is the itinerary you sent her. The one where you said you were spending the weekend in your favorite bed." Daniel tried to speak, but Sarah didn't give him space. "This is the bracelet you bought her, the same one you said would match her eyes. And this," she pulled out a photo, "is the one you took through our bedroom mirror." Cassandra gasped. "You said you were divorcing her." Carol stood now. "Daniel, Mom, listen. It wasn't serious. It was a mistake." Sarah turned to the family. "He's been bringing her here, while telling me to pack the kids' swimsuits." Dead silence. Then Agnes muttered, "Oh, for heaven's sake." Daniel looked around. His daughter stared at him, wide-eyed. His son's lip quivered. His sister stepped back as if she couldn't bear to stand beside him. "Pack your thing," Sarah said. He didn't move. "I said, pack your things this weekend? It's for family, and you don't qualify anymore." Daniel didn't say a word as he packed, not when his mother refused to look him in the eye, not when his 10-year-old daughter asked, "Are you going to live with that lady now?" Not even when Sarah handed him the folded legal envelope with her lawyer's name printed on the front. He moved like a man underwater, slow, disoriented, as if the weight of exposure had knocked the air out of his lungs. The red coupe was gone. Cassandra had driven off without looking back. Sarah didn't follow him into the guest room. She didn't help him carry his bags. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching as he shoved socks and button-downs into a duffel like he was trying to erase his own fingerprints. "You should have told the truth before I had to burn the whole illusion down," she said. "It would have hurt less." Daniel stopped zipping the bag. "I didn't plan it like this." Sarah tilted her head. "But you did plan it." He looked at her then, finally. His face was pale, eyes red. "I thought I could keep both worlds. And now you have neither," she said. He didn't argue. At sunset, he left, alone. The kids didn't say goodbye. Carol sat on the porch with her knitting in her lap but didn't move when he walked past her. She just said, "You broke something you don't get to fix." When the door closed behind him, the house exhaled. But Sarah wasn't done. By Monday morning, she'd frozen their joint accounts. Every shared credit card was suspended. The lawyer Leah recommended, Melissa Grant, had already filed a temporary injunction to halt the property title transfer Daniel had secretly initiated. He'd tried to move the lake house into his name. He'd almost succeeded. But not now. Not anymore. Melissa's voice had been crisp and confident over the phone. "With the documentation you've gathered, emails, timestamped GPS, the mistress showing up in front of your children, he doesn't stand a chance in court. We're not just protecting your assets, Sarah. We're going after compensation." Sarah stared at the file in her hands. Every lie, every receipt, every promise he made to another woman in the shadows, it was all here. And now it would be used to dismantle the empire of deceit he'd built. Daniel tried to call. She didn't answer. He sent emails, long ones, apologetic, rambling, claiming he hadn't felt seen in the marriage, that he was grateful for the memories, that he still wanted to be a good father. Sarah responded with a single sentence through her lawyer. "All further communication will go through legal channels." And yet, the humiliation wasn't done. 2 weeks later, Daniel was fired from his firm. Word had gotten out, not just about the affair, but about the misuse of company credit cards. He had charged romantic getaways to business development. The HR department had questions. His bosses didn't want scandal. Sarah read the news in silence. Daniel's world wasn't just crumbling, it was imploding. She received a letter from his sister, handwritten on thick paper. "I'm sorry, I should have said something. I knew something was off, but I didn't want to get involved. You didn't deserve this. None of it." Even Carol reached out again, this time with a check, not a small one. "For the kids," she wrote, "and for whatever you need to move forward. He's my son, but I raised him better than this." But Sarah didn't cash the check. She didn't need handouts. What she needed was closure, and she was building it, one court filing at a time. The lake house was hers now. Full custody was underway. Daniel would get supervised visits once a month. Melissa was fighting for a provision that barred any romantic partners from being introduced to the kids for at least a year. "Let him rebuild somewhere else," Sarah said, "without dragging my children through the wreckage." Every day she returned to the house, she found another ghost of who she used to be. A pair of wine glasses, a family photo, a sweater he once draped around her shoulders on a cold dock morning. She didn't throw them away. She boxed them, stored them, because she wanted to remember how much it took to walk away. 6 months later, the lake whispered again. Sarah stood on the back deck of the house that had once held lies in its walls. But now, in the cold clarity of late autumn, it was hers. Legally, financially, emotionally. The court proceedings hadn't been easy. Divorce never was. Especially when children were involved. Especially when the man you'd built your entire adult life beside tried to reduce that life to legal footnotes and asset spreadsheets. But she had walked into that courtroom not as the betrayed wife, but as the woman who caught him red-handed, photo by photo, timestamp by timestamp. Daniel tried to negotiate, pleaded, claimed emotional distress. His lawyer pushed for shared custody, arguing Sarah was vindictive. The judge saw the evidence, the emails, the photos, the testimony from family, Carol included. The verdict was swift, full primary custody to Sarah. Supervised visitation for Daniel, once per month, with no overnights and no unsupervised communication until further review. He was ordered to pay child support, as well as half the legal costs incurred. The court froze his access to any joint assets retroactive to the date of infidelity discovery. But beyond the legal victories, something deeper had shifted. Sarah had found herself again. She no longer checked his social media. She no longer replayed the betrayal at night. She had given herself permission to stop bleeding for someone who wouldn't have noticed if she died standing up. She changed the locks, repainted the master bedroom, burned the robe he'd let Cassandra wear. Not out of anger, out of finality. The robe went up in flames in the fire pit behind the house, ashes rising into the dark sky like 1,000 tiny goodbyes. Her children were healing too. Her daughter stopped asking if Daddy would come home again. Her son had started sleeping through the night again. And Sarah, for the first time in years, felt like the air around her didn't carry the weight of someone else's secrets. Every Sunday, she cooked pancakes in the lake house kitchen. Just her and the kids. Music playing, no tension, no second guessing, no rehearsed small talk over burnt toast. One morning her daughter asked, "Mom, are we going to live here forever?" Sarah paused, looked around. The same house where she caught her husband. The same house where she rebuilt from ashes. "Yes," she said, "forever sounds good." There was a new bookshelf in the living room. A single framed quote stood on it, something she had found scribbled in an old journal from her 20s. "You didn't break me. You showed me where I was already cracked, and I sealed it with steel." Carol still called, occasionally. She was embarrassed, ashamed, but supportive. She spent time with the kids, never once defending her son's actions. She even offered to co-sign a college savings account just in Sarah's name. Daniel, on the other hand, had faded into a background hum. He showed up to his court-mandated visits, usually quiet, often awkward. Sarah stayed civil, for the kids, but the man who once juggled two lives so confidently now struggled to hold even one together. His job prospects had dried up after word got out. His charm didn't buy him sympathy anymore. He asked Sarah once, in a moment of desperation, if there was any chance they could talk, that maybe they rushed the divorce. She looked at him for a long moment, then said quietly, "You set fire to the bridge and expected me to swim back." He didn't ask again. Now every evening, Sarah stepped onto the back deck just as the sun dipped low over the lake. She'd breathe in the scent of pine and water. Sometimes she'd cry, but not out of pain anymore, out of relief, because she had survived it. All of it. The lies, the gaslighting, the humiliation. The moment she caught her husband cheating wasn't the moment her life fell apart. It was the moment she stopped living someone else's lie and started writing her own story.